Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're talking about the Sig P320-M17 pistol, which basically we have here is a commercial version of the M17 service pistol. Now, there's two versions of this, but before we get into this, I want to talk a little bit about the XM17 program. I've done a couple different videos. One was on the P320 and one was on the Glock 19X, which were both candidates for the XM17. And there's been some information on both of them that people have been getting wrong. And I do think I want to go over some information here to get some things straight regarding these two pistols. Now, before I get into that, I want to say one thing straight up. Now, I am not a Glock fanboy or a Sig fanboy. I am a What Works fanboy. What my interest is that our troops were able to get the best pistol that money can buy and the best thing that's available in this country. And whether that fell on the Sig or the Glock, so be it. Whichever pistol was the best, I wanted to see win. So my biggest problem that I had with the XM17 program was not either one of the pistols. It was the government's handling of it. It's the fact that they went against every principle weapons procurement that I've ever seen in my life, and especially the fact that it didn't go through the same testing that its predecessor, the M9, did. So there's a couple things you want to talk about, so we're going to jump right into that. Shown here is the M17 Sig Sauer Model P220, and over here is the Glock 19X, which is identical to the XM17 version that Glock put out, with the exception of their manual safety. The Glock XM17 had a safety on it. Now, these are two of the three models that were looked at. Now, the biggest issue that I want to address right here is the fact that on my videos, they said that the Glock lost because it was not modular, which is complete bull. Both of these pistols had passed the initial phase 1 testing, so they both met the modularity requirement. Let me explain to you what modularity means. Modularity had nothing to do with the SIG's removable chassis. That had nothing to do with modularity. Well, first, we'll look at what made the SIG modular. We have a 21-round magazine. We have a standard 17-round magazine. We have an ambidextrous safety. We have an ambidextrous slide stop. We have a reversible magazine release. We have live cartridge indicators. So we have everything to make this gun so it's convertible for left and right. Now, for as far as modularity and size, SIG offered a small, medium, and large frame. And SIG also, for the smaller handgun, they went with a two-gun solution. They went with this for the full-size M17, and for the M18, they went with the compact slide and barrel. So to meet that requirement, SIG used two pistols. So Glock's modular pistol had to do with all the safeties and all the features that we just talked about, plus its ability to change out the grip. Now we're going to go over to Glock. What made Glock modular? We have a 19-shot magazine. We have a 17-shot magazine. We have one slide length that fit the overall dimensions for both the full-size and compact pistol. So Glock submitted a one-gun solution instead of two. For Glock's modularity, we have ambidextrous slide stop. We had an ambidextrous safety. We had a reversible magazine release. And for the handgun, for the grip to be modular, we had 5 different grip backs on these. So both pistols met the modularity requirement. Once again, the removable chassis had nothing to do with the modularity requirements. The initial down select, well, the only down select. All other pistols were dismissed for any number of mechanical reasons or for not meeting the modularity, durability, reliability requirements. The final two pistols came down. Now, my issue. The normal course of development for a pistol or a normal course of procurement. We have our final two weapons that were down selected for phase 1. At this point, normally, phase 2 testing would take place. We would take both of these pistols and submit them to the environmental testing, which means both pistols would have gone through everything from extreme heat, extreme cold, ice, mud, salt water, underwater testing. And they would both go through destructive testing. So you'd be able to see, first off, what the life of the pistol was, and also what the life of the components were. That helps you out, you know what your future is going to be for as far as replacement parts. So, once you go through, you'll know on this pistol what part breaks first, on this pistol what parts break first. And then you come down to that. So then you also have your in-field testing where you get feedback from the soldiers of what they like. So now we have all the information. Now we come down to one of 3 conclusions. Both pistols do not meet the requirements. Therefore, we drop both pistols and we start over again. Number 2, we only have one clear winner. Only one pistol passes. That's the one that we adopt. And number 3, both pistols pass. If both pistols pass, now is the time we're supposed to look at price. Now we'll see which one comes in better for competitive bidding. But that's only after both pistols meet the test. So my problem with the whole XM17 program is Phase 2 was never tested. So they just went with one basically over cost with no mechanical testing. Now, as we know, the XM17, or now the now adopted M17, has had issues. It's had extraction issues. It's had ejection issues. It's had some trigger issues. Now, part of going through Phase 2 testing with the destruction testing is any shortcomings either one of these pistols would have come out. So these problems would have come out, and if there was going to be problems with this pistol, it would have come out. And what that tells you is, are these problems that these pistols have, is this a showstopper? Is it going to put this gun out for not completing the testing? Or is it something that's going to be able to be taken care of through the normal course of development and fixed? Because you have two different situations there. One, if you have a major problem that will eliminate the gun, that's an issue. Or if it's something that's, say you have an issue with a magazine catch or something like that, something that can be repaired through the normal course of development. So it tells you that. So the fact is the U.S. government, when they bought a pistol, they did not know which one was best. They didn't know if it was a Sig or the Glock because they didn't test it. They failed our troops in not providing them with the best handgun that was available. The second is that many people had claimed, what's the difference? It's only a pistol. Pistols are very rarely used in combat. If a soldier or anybody in the military has to pull out his pistol, everything else has failed. He's out of rifle ammunition. His rifle malfunctioned. At that moment, his life is in direct danger. If his pistol doesn't work, he's dead. You don't get more close and personal than having to use a pistol. Our soldiers deserve the best pistol money can buy in the industry, and the government owes it to them to make sure they give them the best one. Now, with the results of the M17 program, did the government get the best pistol? I don't know, and neither do they. They didn't put these two together to see if one was better than the other. They both were acceptable, or only one of them, or they were both garbage. They did not do their due diligence. So those were the two major issues that I had people come after me with, saying that the Glock wasn't modular, that's why it lost. Not true. And it doesn't matter because it's only a pistol. That's not true either. Anybody who's ever had to use a pistol for self-defense, that is a last-ditch effort, and if it goes click instead of bang, you're dead. So those are two very, very significant issues. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about the XM17 program. To this day, Picatinny and the Army is still having some issues with the XM17, or the M17 now. They're still working through some of the issues, so for as far as what its status is of right now, I know they're still working on some of the issues. So the rest of this video is going to be purely on the M17 Sig pistol, but I wanted to get that stuff out of the way because these were very annoying issues that people were making a lot of claims and they did not understand what the criteria was for the pistol. Just a couple months ago, Sig finally released the long-anticipated P320-M17 and the M17 commemorative. At SHOT Show this year, we were able to get a glimpse of the commercial versions of the pistol, and we were able to get a look at the commemoratives as well. Now, let's talk about the difference between the two. The first version is the one that we see here. This is the P320-M17. Basically, what this is the commercial version of the pistol. The black controls and the fact that the slide says P320 on it is what makes it the commercial version. Now, the MSRP for that one is $760. These have been available. It comes with 2 magazines. It comes with 2 of the 17-round magazines. GI issue, and then I actually bought these two, which is the 21-round magazine. So these were the 2 magazines that were available for it, but it came with 2 of the 17s. The next version was the commemorative. The commemorative is the one that I really wanted, but I was unable to get my hands on one. There's only 5,000 that are being manufactured, and the major difference is the markings on the slide. First off, you have the proper GI markings. The proper GI markings are Sig Sauer M17. There's no P320. And also on the bottom here, you'll have a cage code and an assembly number. And the next difference is on the controls themselves. Controls themselves are the coyote tan color as well. Now, according to Sig, the initial guns being sent to the government have the coyote tan features, but the later ones are going to have the black colors as well. So this will become a little bit more authentic in the future. The commemorative comes with 2 of the 20-round magazines of 1 of 17 with an MSRP of $1,122. And for an extra $200, you can get a beautiful display case for the pistol. Now, as I said, I really wanted to get the original version. I wanted one that had the proper U.S. government marks on it. But again, since there was only 5,000, they only went to their top distributors. And those guns were taken up as soon as they could be gotten. So It's a shame that there wasn't one version of this pistol. It's one thing I guess I would criticize Sig for is they should have had one M17 and kept them all the same, so everybody could have the an identical version to the original one, because all it is different in the laser engraving on the pistol. But that's neither here nor there. Now, looking at the specifications of the Sig P320, we have 9x19. This is the M17. The M18 is the compact version. I'm not aware of any commercial versions of the compact version available yet. I've not heard of any plans, but there very well may be, but just not so far as I know about right now. You're looking at the full-size version. You're looking at a stainless steel barrel with a stainless steel slide, which has a coyote tan color. It's a PVD finish on it. You have a carbon steel 4.7-inch barrel. You have an 8-inch overall length of the pistol, 5.5 inches in height, and 29.6 ounces in weight. Now, the features we want to talk about on this are first going to start with the top. Now, this top here, along with the rear sight, is removable. This allows you to put some type of an RMR type sight or a small red dot. So that's one of the features. So it enables any of these military pistols to be able to be converted to a red dot if so choose. We have 2 live cartridge indicators. If there's a loaded chamber, you have this area here which will stick up. That will tell you that it's loaded. You can either visually see that or you can feel it with your finger. Plus you have a groove on the extractor. If there's a round in the chamber, you'd be able to run your finger across the side. You'll be able to tell. Both pistols, or the M17 pistol, comes with night sights. Next, we're going to take a look at the manual safety. We have safety off, safety on. Again, ambidextrous. We have an ambidextrous slide release. This is something latch on the side. If you also notice on here, you'll see a UID code as well as the serial number. Now, the original pistols, the XM17, were tamper-proof. They had tamper-proof on the rear so you couldn't disassemble the slide. And they also had a tamper-proof lock on the right side here so you couldn't remove the chassis. Now, that's something that evidently was removed at the requirements because the pistols being delivered no longer have those. But the original XM17 pistols did. We have a mill standard 1913 rail on the bottom, so you can attach laser aim modules, flashlights, or whatnot. We do have a reversible magazine release. So if you're left or right-handed, you can change out the magazine release relatively simply. There's no manual safety on the trigger, unlike the Glock pistol where you have the little tit in the middle that removes the rearward movement of the trigger once the trigger is pressed. You don't have that. This relies solely on the manual safety. There is a firing pin block. And as per mill specs, you also have the coyote-colored polymer frame. The pistols come with the medium-sized frame. But again, you can also get the large and the small depending on your hands. Now, when you insert the 17-round magazine, it's flush. When you insert the 21-round magazine, it does sit out higher. Now, most of the magazines I've seen troops with are these higher capacity magazines. So, obviously they can get both, but most of the ones I've seen so far have this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to show disassembly of the pistol. Very simple, like most SIGs. All we're going to do is we're going to drop down on the something latch release lever, pull back, or move forward. And we have a flat wire recoil spring, similar to that of the Glock. Now the flat recoil springs are much more durable than the standard recoil springs due to the fact they have more of a bearing surface. Now, if the military follows the protocol, they're going to have to replace these every 5,000 to 7,000 rounds. If they don't, they're going to run into a lot of the issues they had with the M9s, which leads me to tell you about U.S. government issues with all weapon systems, is the fact that you don't follow the maintenance protocols. These pistols, when they're brand new, just like the M9 pistols, they work beautiful when they're brand new. But once you don't replace magazines and, in this case, locking blocks, the weapons start beating up on themselves and it starts causing malfunctions and causing severe wear. So you're probably looking at a 5,000 to 7,000 round life cycle on the recoil spring itself. You have a Browning linkless type barrel mechanism. Now, looking at the slide, we do have a firing pin safety, which is absolutely necessary for any military grade pistol. Now we're going to take a look at the chassis by removing the something latch release lever. We can lift the chassis right out. Again, this is a feature that I do want to say again, this is not what made this pistol modular. This is just a feature that enabled this to be swapped from gun to gun. Now, one of the things that has yet to be seen with the U.S. military is, are they going to have these in stock so they can switch from frame to frame? I don't see it. I don't see pistols being custom made for the individual. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it's part of the design feature that you have on here. Now, this is the serialized component. As you see here, we have the serial number We have a UID code here, and we have an additional UID code here. So it's easy to hit with a laser gun to get your information off of it. Now, as we can see here, a close-up of the loaded cartridge indicator or loaded chamber indicator, which when it's loaded, that will stick up like so. And also, the ejector will push out, as you can see, and your finger will be able to feel that protruding from the side of the slide. And when we look inside here, we can see all the precision machine, which you would come to expect from SIG. We also have a firing pin safety. And we can definitely see a close-up of the marking as well, the Sig P320-M17, where, again, if this was the commemorative, there'd be no P320, and the M17 will be back here. And down here is where you would have the cage code and the assembly number. For reinstallation of the chassis, we have to put it in from the rear, drop down, push the trigger in, drop down like so, install the disassembling latch release lever, like so. That's all there is to it. And for reassembly of the slide, you drop the barrel in like so, insert our recoil spring, all the way to the rear, and there we have it. We put quite a few rounds through this. I contacted SIG and I'd asked them to provide me with some ammunition. They provided me with 500 rounds of their 124 grain full metal jacket, which is basically M882 ball. Well, when we look at the characteristics, it's actually a little bit lighter of a load. And we also have their 124 grain V Crown. Put 500 rounds of the Sig Sauer 124 grain, as well as about 1,500 rounds of the Black Hills 115 grain full metal jacket. I had my lab radar out there, and we're looking at a muzzle velocity. American Eagle 115 grain TSJ 1,116 feet a second. Black Hills 115 grain full metal jacket 1,143 feet a second. The Sig V Crown 115 grain 1,200 feet a second. The Sig 124 grain full metal jacket 1,173 feet per second. The actual US M882 ball ammunition 124 grain full metal jacket 1,219 feet per second. And the Sig 124 grain V Crown 1,179 feet per second. So we definitely see the difference between a commercial 124 grain bullet like the SIG here compared to the U.S. government. So you can see the U.S. government ammunition, with 1,219 feet a second is basically a plus P round versus the commercial 124, which is 1,173. That's also coming out of the full length barrel as well. What we're going to go to the range and we're going to see some shooting. Now, I have to say, this pistol here, with all close to 2,000 rounds that have been through it, there was no malfunctions at all. The trigger was very decent, no complaints there. Accurate as hell. We had shot the centers out of the targets time after time after time after time. The pistol has a decent feel to it. I have big hands. I probably would go for a larger grip just because of my hand size. Of course, the testing that I did was very limited. 2,000 rounds or so is nothing compared to what the military is doing. But I will definitely report the gun that I have here. This gun shot very well. I'm keeping this gun. I'm buying this gun because I'm planning on doing a lot more shooting with it as time goes on. As far as the issue is concerned with the trigger safety, now the U.S. government guns has claimed by SIG that they had not had any issues for as far as these dropping and going off like we had with the commercial guns. However, speaking to the project manager for SIG, he was saying that he is recommending an engineering change order for the U.S. government to swap over to the new trigger system. It sort of was strange in the fact that they said they didn't have the problem, but they want to change out the trigger mechanism. I did not test this thing for drop safety on it. Again, this being my personal gun, I'm not going to destroy it. But so far as I know, the government still has had some issues with that. I don't know what iteration we're at with the pistols at the moment, but I will tell you, from shooting this pistol, I was very, very pleased with it. As far as the military goes, do they have the best weapon? We don't know. because they didn't compete the two against each other. This pistol here has been well received by some of the troops that have had it. Comparing it to the M9, there's going to be controversy over this over the next 10 years, at least. Should we have gone with the M9A3 and stuck with the M9 Beretta because it worked? Should we have gone with the Glock? Should we have gone with the Sig? Did we do the right thing? Didn't we do the right thing? But the one thing I do hope is learned that the U.S. government does the proper testing for every weapon that it goes through to their soldiers, because any small arm, whether it be a pistol or a rifle, somebody's life depends on it. And regardless of how little a pistol is used, if it comes down to the pistol, that is your last-ditch effort. It's every bit as important as having a rifle that's gone through all the proper testing to make sure we have the best rifles. To my knowledge right now, the Sig P320 or the M17 is still not completed Phase 2 testing. There are still some issues with it they have to work out. I've been, and I will continue to monitor the progress of the M17 pistol. I've been talking to some friends of mine who are part of the Army testing protocol, and they were saying that so far Sig was supposed to pass a product durability test by 1 October. It did not. They still have not passed the product durability testing. They're also still having some issues in regard to the extractors and the magazines. One of the magazine issues has to do with when it extracts and ejects a empty cartridge case, it's also throwing out a live cartridge. I have to say, in my testing, I've not experienced any of that. So I don't know if that has something to do with the ammunition that they're using. Sig has provided their own type of ammunition. There's some new ball rounds that are truncated cone shaped, a little bit different than the M882 ball. I've shot a significant amount of M882 ball out of this pistol, and I've had no issues. So the issues with extractors and barrel life are still existing. I know Sig is working diligently with the military to try to get these things corrected, but we will continue to follow this. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share.